Hi there, I'm Wendy and welcome to my channel Wendy Poole Knits, and today's video is all about how I made my version of the snow sweater, which is a pattern by Knitting for Olive. So firstly, I'll start with a big welcome from myself and from my four-legged friend in the background here, but he'll probably get up and disappear at some point during this video, so you'll probably suddenly notice that he's not there anymore. So if you are a returner to my channel, it's lovely to see you back, and if you're new to my channel, then it's great to have you on board as well. And this is my first video in, I think it's over a year actually. It's been quite a while because I took some time out this time last year to have an operation and I needed to recover. And then I decided I'd wait till the beginning of this year and start up my knitting videos again. So here I am. So if you want to know where to find me, you will see me on Instagram, which is where I tend to be the most. And my knitting and crochet on Instagram is at Wendy Poole Knits. And I'm also on Instagram with dressmaking and sewing, and that's under Wendy Poole the Dressmaker. Then on Facebook and TikTok, you'll find me as Wendy Poole Handmade. And finally, if you can't remember any of that, just remember my name and Google it, and you will find my website, wendypoole.com, and everything is on there as well. So just with that note, if you enjoy my video, it would be great if you subscribed, and then you'll get to hear when my next videos go live. And if you enjoy my video, it would be lovely if you gave me a little thumbs up as well. But now we'll get straight on with talking all about the snow sweater. So earlier last year, I thought I'm going to make a Christmas sweater, and I was going to make the holly sweater, which is another pattern by Knitting for Olive, and I'd got the yarn put aside for it. I'd got some cream West Yorkshire Spinners Colour Lab, and I'd got the yarn also for the berries and for the green holly leaves. However, when I started seeing the snow sweater designs released by Knitting for Olive, I just fell in love with them. I loved the fact that it was festive and wintry, but it wasn't exactly saying Christmas. I loved the snow and I loved the trees on it. And when I saw the adult version released, which had a plain front and all the design was in the sleeves, that was it. So I just whoosh, moved everything aside for the holly sweater and decided that I was going to make this one instead. Plus I already had the yarn in the right colour to knit the jumper. So I had a quick look at the pattern and I could see that it was a top-down jumper, and it had all the colour work in the sleeves, and they were knitted top-down in the picture as well. So I didn't think anything of it. I just thought this would be a really nice, quick and easy knit because the body is all plain with some colour work in the sleeves. And I just bought the pattern and started. So just to give you an overview with the snow sweater by Knitting for Olive, it's got a round neck, and in the original picture it had quite a scooped flat crew neck, I'd call it, and it was a single layer of ribbing at the top. And then the sweater comes down to a classic circular yoke, and it's got some short row shaping in it as well around the back and around the sides, which works really well. It was slightly unusual shaping to what I've normally seen, but it did work really, really well. Then the body of the sweater is knitted downwards, and then I could see by the picture on the pattern, as I said just now, that the sleeves were knitted downwards with the colour work finishing coming down to the cuff. So that's where we started with the snow sweater, and I have to say, before I even start, I do love it and I'm really happy with my one, and this video is just there to try and help anyone that's possibly making it and got a bit stuck, or wants some ideas if they want to have a go at knitting the sleeves top down. Because what I didn't realise was, when it came to the pattern instructions, that the body of the sweater was knitted top down, and then the sleeves were actually knitted bottom up and then were fully grafted all around the top edge of the arm where it links onto the yoke. I will just add at this point, in the nicest possible way, that I see myself as quite a competent knitter, and I don't have any problems with doing grafting myself. In fact, this sweater here behind me is a sweater that I knitted for my husband, and that was bottom up. The body was bottom up and the sleeves were bottom up, and in fact I knitted it too long, so I did in fact cut the sleeves and the body and regraft them together, and then I made a YouTube video about it. So I'm going to pop a link into that above and in the description notes below, just if it's of interest to anybody or they're thinking of doing grafting and just want to see how I went about it. I'll pop that there for you. But for the snow sweater, I just didn't want to do that method because I knew it takes me quite a while to hand graft, and I just wanted to get the sweater done quickly. And also I love when you're doing Christmas trees, when you're working colour work, I like to knit them downwards. So I like to knit them top down so that the V's are pointing downwards, and I just think it makes the trees look really nice. So trees and Christmas, I just wanted to do mine top down. So I'm going to take you through step by step with the modifications that I made on mine, and then after that I will run through the yarns that I used and the tension that I had for the pattern as well. So to start with, I cast on the pattern at the neckline, and I did far less rib than the pattern actually asked me to. I did 2 inches in total and just folded that over and had that as my finished neckline. So my finished neckline is about 1 inch in depth, and it is double layer, not single layer as it was shown on the original photo. So from there I worked the circular yoke as per the instructions, and that was all very straightforward and worked out very nicely. And then there was some short row shaping in the back and around the arms, and that worked out really nicely. It was slightly different to anything that I've done before, and I have to be honest, I think it worked well, and I think the sleeves hang nicely with it as well, so that was really good. From there it was very straightforward, and I just knitted top down to the finished length for my body and worked the ribbing. And I'm going to be totally honest, I didn't do a sewn bind off. Again, I've done that on this sweater here, but I didn't do it this time because I was against the clock, because I wanted to get this sweater finished for Christmas. So I cast off using a size 3mm needle, using my version of a stretchy bind off. And again, I've got a YouTube video showing you how to do that, which I'll put the link in above here and in the description notes below for you. Now this is very similar to Jenny's stretchy cast off, except it's more suited for English style knitters. So if you're an English style knitter where you're holding the yarn in your right hand and you are a thrower with your knitting needles, then that's suitable for you. And I find that works really well. And as I say, I just went down to a 3mm needle from a 3.5 needle, just to give me a little bit more tightness, but still have the stretch, if that makes sense. So that was my body all finished. Then I moved on to the sleeves. And I'm going to be honest, I was naive. I didn't even think to look at the sleeves. I'd just seen that I was working a top-down sweater, so I was really surprised when it said to cast on for the sleeves with a provincial cast on. So I didn't overthink it actually. I just thought, I haven't got time to do all this. I need to make mine top down. So I just had a quick look, and the stitches that I needed to cast on for the cuff was a similar sort of amount to the stitches that I would be picking up under the arm. So I just decided that I was just going to pick up those stitches and knit down as a tube, and that was going to be the arm of my sweater. So from there, the first thing that I did was just start knitting, and I knitted about 5 inches. And the reason that I did that was so that I could double check my tension or gauge for the rows. So once I'd knitted 5 inches, I popped a pin in and then measured 4 inches, put another pin in, and then double checked how many rows that I had knitted for that 4 inches or 10 centimeters. So then I needed to figure out what was going to be the correct finished sleeve length. So with that, I popped on a similar sweater fit-wise, and I got a tape measure and popped that under my arm, and then just let my arm hang down with the tape measure, and then I could just see where the tape measure finished, sort of hanging in, coming into sort of the mid palm length, if that makes sense. So I haven't got particularly long arms. I've probably got quite short arms really, but for me it was 19 inches. So I knew the finished length that I was aiming for my sleeve, and I also knew how many rows per 4 inches I was working in my sleeve. So the next thing I wanted to do was take a look at the charts. Now there's a few different charts for the trees depending on what your stitch count is and depending on what size you're making. So I just picked the best chart that worked in for the stitch count that was going to be at the cuff of my sleeve, and I counted the rows on the chart for the fir trees, for the Christmas trees, and then there's another chart which is for the snow. Now again, being totally transparent here, I didn't do all of the snow rows. I took off, it was at least the top 10 rows, and that was simply because there was just 1 or 2 stitches sort of on one half of the sleeve and again on the other half, and the floats were really big, and so I just decided to take a few rows off of the top of the snow charts. So I added both the charts together, so I'd got the length of the fir trees, the length of the snow, and then once I knew the total amount of rows, it was easy to work out what the total length of the colour work was going to be. So once I knew what the total length of the colour work was going to be, I could minus that off the total length of my sleeve, and that left me knowing how far to knit down before starting the colour work. I hope that's made sense, and I hope I've described that in a way that helps anyone if they are working their sleeves top down, but that is literally the way that I did it. Now I must just add that because the original pattern is knitted with the sleeves from the bottom up, that's from the cuff upwards, I needed to flip my charts upside down. So that way I was reading the snow chart upside down first, and then I was reading the tree chart upside down. And I just saved the charts in my phone as a screenshot, and then using a photo app, I literally just flipped the charts upside down and used them from there. And then after that, what was really nice was the fact that on the original pattern, you go back to the beginning of the sleeve and do an I-cord finish afterwards. But by knitting it top down, I could just literally just carry on, finish my snow and work that I-cord cast off. And that was my sweater finished. Another thing I would say is that on mine, I did catch my floats in. I'm going to roll this back, hopefully, so that you can see it. I did catch them in about every 4 to 5 stitches. Some are probably a little bit longer, but that worked really well as well. So to finish off with it, really, all I've got to talk about is the yarns that I used and my tension. But just quickly, sort of just on a recap of the actual construction of the sleeves, I do get it. I do understand why they turned the pattern around and wanted to have the trees working from the bottom up, because the whole sweater is all about this beautiful colour work design, and that way it ensures that you get your sleeves with the colour work in the right position. So I do understand that, but it did worry me a little bit that I thought, I know that grafting is quite a skill and it's not for everybody. You know, grafting is something that I've taught people quite a lot when it comes to sock workshops, and I know it takes a bit of practice. So I was just worried that that might be something that could put people off, or they might have started their sweater and don't know how to finish it. But I do love mine, and I would knit it either way. I would knit it either way with the sleeves from the bottom up now or from the top down. But as I say, I do realise that grafting might be a skill that's taking it a bit too far for some people to want to do. However, moving on to the yarn, I did decide to This turned out to be quite an economical jumper really for me, because I had some Stylecraft Life DK which was in the right sort of colour. So I used that for my main body, and then again I used Stylecraft Life DK for the trees. They've got one with a nep in it, so I think it was the forest green with the nep. I will put it in the description notes below. So I used that for the blue and for the green of the trees, and then for the cuffs I used some West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in cream. I think it might have been called milk. And then I had some Drops Silk Mohair, and I used that together. So for the snow I used a 4-ply and a silk mohair, and for the main jumper and for the green I used a regular DK. Now it did affect my tension, so I'm not trying to take that away from anything. I was making one of the smaller sizes, so it was quite easy really. I just jiggled the pattern around and looked at the tension, and my tension was 22 stitches widthwise for 4 inches and 28 rows, so it was a bit different from the knitting for olive variation, but I just went up a size, so that's what worked for me making it. But yeah, just to finish off with it, I do absolutely love it. I'm really pleased with it, and I have seen some versions of this where people have knitted just the plain jumper and they've put the trees on the body as well, which was another thing that looked nice and would probably be easier as well to do. So I hope that's been useful, and it's great to be back, and that's the first video for 2025 done, and I will be back again fairly soon in the next couple of weeks. And so don't forget to subscribe and like, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon. So thanks a lot. And he managed to sit in for the whole lot. He's still asleep. Would you believe it? Anyway, take care. I'm off for a cup of tea, and I'll see you soon. Bye.